They're very, very creative people, which is the kind of people that you want, but they're very temperamental. Cultural fit, forget about it. Be a brilliant guy who writes you the most wonderful melody, but he's going to be sitting in the corner when you're having a party. You know what I mean? Or there's a
Yeah.
brilliant, right? There's a brilliant mad scientist, mathematicians that you need in order to have a differentiation, but that person may not drink or may not like the food that you want. There's like so
Mhm.
many cultural things. So I think that to subject a new hire to those types of cultural nuances, I'd really rather hire a brilliant person who can differentiate my company and its products and services, and then deal with the nuances of that really person's. Another thing that really scares me is that if we hire the same kind of people, then we create a tunnel vision. What you want is
Mhm.
a diversification of
Exactly.
thinking. The reason why Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley and you cannot replicate it anywhere, because in Silicon Valley, we celebrate that kind of a diversity. Let me give you an example. When I was in Silicon Valley for 20 years, I was part of a theater group called Stanford Savoyards. When I would sit techie meetings, there would be
Mhm.
25, 30 people, and all of them would have their laptops on, and they're all technology background people. The singers, the actors, the set designers, they all were VPs and directors of software engineering, hardware engineering in Silicon, but they all had their full-time job as
Mhm.
the techies. Half of my orchestra pit was mathematicians and scientists who used to work for Facebook and this and Sun Microsystems and Oracle. That's what you have, and we have to celebrate that in the organization.
Exactly. I love what you're saying here. When I sit in my role, right, and I'm sitting and I'm talking to leaders, hiring managers, and they bring up culture fit, you are narrowing your talent more than you can imagine. That's one thing. Not only that, you are risking, before I said, oh, it's not all about compliance, you really are exposing yourself to a level of risk that can be minimal or huge, right? When everybody in the room, in that room's our organization looks the same, you are missing out. You're missing out on innovation. You're missing out on new ideas. You're missing out on different ways to work. So
Exactly.
while culture fit, we want a great culture in our organizations, right? But just like human culture, things evolve, right? You know, in 1955, you and me would never be having this conversation. Not
No.
because like the internet didn't
Yep.
exist, but this person sitting here and that
Yep.
person sitting there, it
Yep.
wouldn't exist. We would not be sitting
Yep.
in our roles. Let's just be very,
Right.
very, very honest about that, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, culture fit, it's important to have good culture, but to hire based on fit, it's a terrible idea. It's,
I think
it's,
so.
it's so horrible. Let's, like you said, where we should be looking at are, what are your skills? What are your capabilities? Can you perform this role?
Yeah.
That's what we should be looking at. And then when we're bringing that person into our organization, if we have a good culture, we are a part of every good culture is creating a sense of belonging and acceptance. So they will be brought in to our culture.